Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about demystifying blockchain social media by identifying some of the red flags for when you're joining new platforms. And the reason that I wanted to do this is because I've listed all these different reasons as to why I might not use a platform or I won't recommend it for other people to use in my comprehensive review, which is going to be coming out fairly soon. But instead of spending half of the review or a big portion of that review just going through the apps that didn't make it, I'd like to explain my reasoning behind these different categories that I've set for why I wouldn't recommend an app. There's about 15 or somewhere around there, and I'd like to just quickly go through some of them. This will also give you a good idea for when you're looking at new platforms to be able to decide, okay, like, is this a platform that I want to potentially use and look at? I've done videos similar to this previously, but this is going to be much more succinct, just looking quickly at the different things and a brief explanation for each. And this might be a little more spread out in terms of the amount of categories, and the amount of organization that I've put into this is probably going to be a lot better than previous videos I've done that might be similar to this. I've really broken everything up into very specific categories that perfectly highlight why something wasn't recommended, whereas before I just had a full list of the not recommended, and it wasn't very easy to see why it might have not been, whereas now they're all grouped into nice little categories, and I'm going to walk you through what all of these entail. So the number one, and this is in no particular order, the first thing on the list is if a platform is too niche. So when I'm recommending blockchain social media platforms, the things that I do want to look for, just to get this out of the way, we want a crypto monetized platform so you can earn crypto. We generally want it to be on the blockchain, using the blockchain in some way, decentralized, distributed, privacy focused, free speech, just a lot of the main values behind blockchain and the motivations and values behind that to begin with. So, and because it's for social media, if it's too niche, it doesn't really fit within the recommendations. So this is nothing against these specific platforms. They just might be too niche for my recommendation. So for example, Smoke.io. It's really, it's like an alternative to Steam, but it's just about cannabis. So it's so niche that there's no way I could recommend this as a social media platform for general users, because it's only for people really who are interested in cannabis. Thus, it's too niche. So the next one is lacking media functionality. This is pretty straightforward. If a platform doesn't allow you to embed links, doesn't have previews for links, doesn't have video capability or any media or even blog posts, it's just like text based, there's no way that that's going to take as a social media platform. So that's pretty obvious. If it's messenger based, so a lot of people will list something as a social media platform when it's really just a messenger. Facebook Messenger is a communications platform. It's not a social media platform, though some people might disagree. When I'm talking about social media, I'm only talking about I post something publicly and everyone can see it and respond, and we have a dialogue, not just me messaging my friend or having to add people and create contact lists. I think that is much different from a regular social platform. Too much resistance for joining or usage. This is pretty straightforward. Again, if it's very challenging to sign up or it's very challenging to use, I don't think it's realistic that people are going to want to use it. So for example, with the Fediverse, I just put out a video about how I'm not a fan of how challenging it is to get around. While I was kind of wrong, I mean, in my last video, I was a little bit off on when I was talking about not being able to work between the nodes. You technically can, but me, myself, I had issues doing that. So if there are issues, then with one person, with two people, it's not realistic. It's also just way more confusing than a lot of the other platforms. I didn't have that much trouble, but with a lot of new users, there's all these new things that they're not used to or they haven't seen before that are going to be overwhelming. And because it's not even using the blockchain or cryptocurrency, it doesn't really have a lot of there's not enough of motivation to even bother with it, really. And like, for example, the Fediverse is supposed to work with Gab and such. I couldn't find any profiles from Gab when I was doing my searches. And when I used PeerTube, one of the popular apps on there, I could only find tiny instances with only like less than 100 people. Like the Canadian one I found was like 59 users. And it even says like on each of them how many videos you're allowed to upload, or how much space you're allowed to take up. It's like you can take up 1 gig of space and then you have to pay. So I could upload maybe 1, maybe 2 videos, and then that'd be it. So that's pointless. And yeah, and all the other ones are very, very similar. And you know, if there's too much resistance for joining, like this isn't all just Fediverse stuff, but if there's too much resistance for joining or using the platform, it's just not going to be worth it, and people won't bother. So a little bit difference from the resistance. If the platform isn't fully working or it's lacking users and engagement, again, not really going to be a very good situation for people. And again, I'm going to use another Fediverse example, Mastodon. It's a very, very popular platform on there, and they boast with like 4.4 million users with all the people using all those dApps in that ecosystem. However, on Mastodon social, like the main, or what you would assume would be like the main platform, trending topics and stuff, there's like 66 posts. You go in there, each post has like no likes, no replies, nothing. So the most popular posts literally have 0 interaction. You click on the profile. I keep wanting to say portfolio. You click on the profile and they've got like 2 followers. They've been on the platform for months. It's just, there's no one on these platforms. So it's just unrealistic to expect that people are going to go on, have a bunch of interaction, and want to stay and invite others. Speaking of inviting, if a platform is invite only, it's not really realistic to expect that there's going to be many people who are going to come and sign up. Like, you don't want to wait and get approved, and there's barely anyone on the platform anyways. If a platform requires a download on your PC specifically, so if it doesn't have a mobile app and it requires a download on your PC, I think that's really unrealistic since most people are on mobile now. And if you don't have a browser experience, at the very least, you're really cutting out the majority of your audience. So it's just not realistic. And a good example is like Substratum. Requiring crypto to interact, I think this is one of the most egregious ones, where it's like you have to pay every time you interact. Like if I give you a like or a comment, I have to pay myself out of my own pocket. Really unrealistic to expect someone coming from Twitter who's like, oh, cool, crypto monetized, I can make money. Oh, what? You're asking me to spend money, not make money? No, that's not going to happen. On Chirp, it literally costs, I can't remember if it was actually Chirp or Twetch. No, it was Twetch. On Twetch, they're very, very similar. On Twetch, it literally would cost you $1 to change like settings in your profile. So charging people for literally everything they could possibly do is just insane to me, because no one is going to do that. Non-English is pretty straightforward. I'm making recommendations for English-speaking audience. If your platform requires verification, or the verification is required and doesn't fully work, you're definitely not getting through. So KYC verification, Voice is coming out with that. I'm still going to review Voice, but it's more than likely automatically getting thrown in this category as a not recommended, because people don't want to KYC verify just to use a social platform when there's already so many in existence that don't require this. It's just simple. It's like there's 15 available, 2 require KYC, just choose between the other 13. And the other ones are better and more established anyways, so why even waste your time? And then if verification doesn't work, it's like, well, BitTube, for example, they had trouble and they had to like manually verify my Canadian number, because there's always issues with Canadian numbers. Hyperspace couldn't verify a Canadian number, and then Hyperspace closed down because it was a bad platform and I didn't recommend it. Verification is just a huge issue. What you should do is like what Minds does. You don't need to verify, but if you want to earn, you have to at least use your phone number so that you don't have multiple accounts. Very simple, very easy, and not a lot of resistance. EOS dApps that mostly don't work because they're using the public blockchain. EOS has been congested for like, 4 months, 5 months now? A ridiculous amount of time. Still hasn't been fixed, and any dApp on EOS that is trying to use the public chain doesn't work correctly because of it. They're congested, tons and tons of issues. The number one app on EOS for social is Tribe, and I haven't been able to transact on Tribe in almost half a year. And Tribe is dying. Barely anyone is using it. It's just a bad time. The Tribe token is worth literally basically zero at this point. Just really, really do not recommend. Some platforms aren't really using the blockchain or cryptocurrency, but they sort of claim to be, or they have the guise of doing that, like DLive originally did on Lino blockchain, because it wasn't a real blockchain. That's a great example. And yeah, so if I'm reviewing platforms for blockchain and crypto and they're really not, obviously they're going to get lumped into this section. Platforms that aren't free to use. So Cinnamon Video is an extension of Coil, which has been pretty dead anyways as well. But Cinnamon Video, you have to pay to watch videos. Like, you subscribe and then you can watch videos from creators on the platform. I think that's really unrealistic, again, because we have YouTube, we have all these other alternatives already in existence in the crypto sphere, blockchain sphere, as well as outside, like BitChute and stuff like that. So it's really unrealistic to ask people to pay to use platforms. That is all of my red flags. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what you should look out for when looking for new apps to try and new social media dApps and blockchain related platforms. So let me know if you think this is a good, cover of all the things that you should look out for. If I'm missing anything, if you think any of these are wrong or should be changed in some way, let me know. What is your favorite social dApp? Feel free to comment below. Let everyone know in the comments what you think about all this, and how you feel the flags are and how relevant they are for looking for new platforms. And feel free to also share any cool new platforms that you think haven't really gotten a lot of traction yet, because I'm always looking for new platforms to review and recommend as well. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you did watch to the very end, make sure to comment #1ham in the comments below. You're amazing. Have a great day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.